We head to our final race of the day, the Varsity 8 Grand Final. And in the Ivy League, this is how we crown the Ivy League champion in the automatic bid to the NCAA championships. Winner of this race will be the Ivy champion. In lane 1, it's Columbia. Lane 2, Harvard Radcliffe. Lane 3, the defending champions from Princeton. Lane 4, the team that has so far taken this event by storm, Brown. Lane 5 is Yale. Lane 6 is Penn. Team standings coming in for the team trophy. Brown, 53 points. Yale, 47 points. Princeton, 44 points. Radcliffe and Penn tied at 30 points for 4th place. And then it's Cornell with 19, Columbia with 17, Dartmouth with 8. Let's take a look at the lineups, and we'll start in lane number 1 with Columbia. Their varsity 8 is coxswain by junior Virginia Fatt. The stroke is junior Charlotte Buck. Senior Lily DeBode is in seat 7. Seat 6 is Giovanna Crozier-Fitzgerald. Seat 5 is Elena McGahee. Seat 4, junior Caroline Harriman. Seat 3 is Hannah Judge, a junior Maddie Lawn. In seat 2, the bow is Elizabeth Ray. Lane number 2 is Harvard Radcliffe, and they need to beat Penn to guarantee a top 4 finish in the team standings. Harvard's varsity 8, coxswain by freshman Catherine Paglione. Sophomore Raph Stolf is the stroke. Junior Sophie Donica is in seat 7. Junior Hannah Osborne in seat 6. Freshman Georgia Wheeler in seat 5. Sophomore Teresa Rocco is in seat 4. Senior Corinne Bazzini in seat 3. Sophomore Stephanie Ebley in seat 2. And junior Zabi Elmgren in the bow. Lane 3 belongs to Princeton, the defending Ivy League champions. A win here for the Tigers would give them 3 over the last 4 seasons, which would be a tremendous mark for Princeton. It would also give them a 5th championship in the last 7 years. Their varsity 8 is coxswain by senior Amanda Rutherford. Freshman Emily Kaufels is the stroke. Freshman Hadley Irwin in seat 7. Sophomore Claire Collins in seat 6. Senior Georgie Howe in seat 5 has already won 2 Ivy League championships in the first varsity with Princeton. Sophomore Ellie Sawyers in seat 4. Junior Izzy Napa in seat 3. Dagmara Lappins in seat 2. Freshman Emerson Solms in the bow for the Tigers of Princeton. Then it's Brown, who has been just red hot today. Already gold medals at 2nd varsity, 3rd varsity 8, and the V4C. Brown's lineup coming in ranked 9th nationally and 3rd regionally. At first varsity, they're coxswain by Lucy Hajan. They're stroked by junior Cicely Madden. Sophomore Kathleen Squitieri is in seat 7. Seat 6 is Jen Mundielis. Seat 5, Monica Sobiesk. Seat number 4 is freshman Louis Sommer. Seat 3, Tara Bazzini, a junior. Seat 2, junior Regina Brown. And the bow is Leah Kaiser for the Bears of Brown. Then you move out to lane number 5. That's where Yale stands, ranked 6th nationally, 1st regionally. Yale's varsity 8, coxswain by Sarah Lee, a senior. The stroke is Lily Lindsay, a junior. Then it's Mary Beth Swords, a junior, in seat 7. Daisy Mazio Manson, a freshman, in seat 6. Ella von der Schlunberg in seat 5. Allison Nordell in seat 4. Senior Kate O'Brien in seat 3. Julia Sessler in seat 2. Amy Warner, a junior, in the bow seat. And rounding out the field, the University of Pennsylvania. If the Quakers can beat Harvard Radcliffe, they will move into a top 4 spot in terms of team points, which would be a big accomplishment for number 5 regionally ranked Penn. Their varsity 8, coxswain by Taylor Bixby, a junior, stroked by another freshman, Francis Kane. Senior Alex Takai is in seat 7. Senior Lexi Slotkoff in seat 6. Senior Natalie Reynolds in seat 5. In seat 4, it's freshman Romy Simpson. In seat 3, junior Regina Salmons. Seat 2, freshman Susan Maroney. And the bow occupied by freshman Sarah Scheid. Ivy League championship on the line. Will it be Princeton for a 5th time in 7 years? Or does a team like Brown have the opportunity to turn the tables? Last year, Brown was the number 1 seed, but it was Princeton who won the overall Ivy League championship.
Well, I think that there's a lot more than just medals and qualifiers on the line here. If you recall, last year it was Brown coming in with the number 1 overall seed and Princeton knocking them off for the Ivy title in the automatic qualifier. Princeton, the victor over Brown in early season racing this year. I suspect that that's going to be pretty hard to continue to repeat. Brown must have some revenge on their mind. Yale has been, as you've seen, a very deep program. They've been behind those 2 juggernauts in the varsity race this season. This race could come down to being any one of those three for the gold medal.
The wind has slowed just a bit, at least here at the finishing line, but we do have that tailwind. Times have been so fast. The time to win second varsity was about 6:20, so we could see these teams blistering down in sub 6:20 territory in this 2,000-meter Ivy League championship race.
Sure, we could be close to 6:10 or under that. And you know, we have some people who will be very excited about this race who aren't in contention for the top three, perhaps. Columbia, their first time back in the grand final in a while, and they are going to move ahead of Cornell in the team points with this finish. Pennsylvania, another crew looking to perhaps match up against the Harvard over in lane 2. Harvard and Penn fighting for 4th place overall.
Teams are all lined up, waiting for alignment and the go-ahead. Winner, the Ivy League champion, and earns the automatic bid to the NCAA championships in less than 2 weeks at Mercer Lake in New Jersey. .2,000 meters, and they are off in the grand final of the Varsity 8 at the Ivy League championships.
By the first 100 meters, everybody is just happy to be rowing. The nerves are so tense at the starting line of a championship regatta.
Really good start for Princeton. They had edged just slightly out in front, rowing in lane number 3 on those first few strokes. Tigers, defending champions. They've won 2 of the last 3, and in all of those championships over the last 3 years, Georgie Howe has been part of the Varsity 8, looking for her 3rd Ivy championship in 4 seasons in that Princeton 8.
That would be quite an accomplishment. And as with the other races earlier in the day, we can see that there's a premium for a quick start. The task for those who don't get off first, stay in the race. Things get serious at the 1,000 meters, so Brown and Yale will be looking to be right there with Princeton.
In one of those powerhouse seats near the middle of the boat, seat 6, Claire Collins for Princeton. She's just a sophomore. She's a 3-time junior national team member. There's Brown. They're off to a good start as well. Bears right now lead the team point standings. They would have a chance to not only clinch the team point standings, but also win the overall Ivy championship if they can come out on top here. And Yale coming off at a high rate early as well, right in lockstep with Brown. And also as you look across back to Princeton.
Brown at 39, Princeton with a pretty nice lead early on.
Princeton in first, and it looks like it's that tight race for second between Brown and Yale. Harvard, Radcliffe, and Penn in that battle for 4th, and the winner of that race between those 2 teams will win 4th place overall in the Ivy League championships.
Well, that means a lot to both Harvard and Penn. That'll be a good race. Those are evenly matched crews.
Now Princeton out early. Now the question is, can you maintain that tempo that Princeton has shot out here? Do they hold on, or did they overcook it a little bit in the opening few hundred meters?
Well, Princeton finished their morning heat rowing at 30 strokes a minute, so they were clearly saving a lot for this effort. And they have paid the price of admission. Their start has been remarkably strong. I would say in this tailwind, that's probably not very expensive for them. They look like they can handle that.
And you saw them urged along by a senior coxswain, Amanda Rutherford, who has so much experience. She was leaning forward there in her coxswain seat. And now we pan back. Battle for second place. Brown is there, as is Yale, fighting closely for second and third. Then it's Penn and Harvard, Radcliffe, Columbia currently in 6th. But like you said, for Columbia, big accomplishment just to get into this grand final when you look at past years.
Well, I don't think that any of these other crews out here have really done what they wanted to do in order to stay close to Princeton. Princeton has enough clear right now that they may be able to just dictate the result of this race.
Yeah, they may be verge of open water here ahead of Yale and Brown. It does look like Brown has moved into second. Yale right there for third, but Princeton out to a tremendous start. The Tiger group, the defending champs, Amanda Rutherford, Emily Kaufels, Hadley Irwin, Claire Collins, Georgie Howe, Ellie Sawyer, Izzy Napa, Dagmara Lappins, and Emerson Solms.
Well, clearly Princeton didn't want to hear any talk of payback or revenge or we're getting better. They just wanted to say, we are going out and we're going to show you what we've got. Stay with us if you can.
And here's a scary thought if you're one of the other Ivy League crews and you're watching what Princeton's doing right now. 3 freshmen for Princeton out of the 8 rowers, including the stroke, Emily Calfels, seat 7, Hadley Irwin, and the bow, Emerson Solms.
Well, as expected, it's been a race up for the top 3, and that 4th place position, very close between those 2 crews of Harvard and Pennsylvania. Only Columbia's dropped back a little bit, but there is clearly a pack of 3 in the front. Those are probably the 3 that are headed for the NCAA championships.
Still Princeton in first. They're running in lane 3.
Princeton just crushing it out in front. I don't think anybody's going to catch them. They really have their legs under them.
Princeton, Brown, and Yale in the mix. Princeton with that open water lead. And it's Brown in lane 4 ahead of Yale in lane 5.
Princeton at 35. Yale hanging on close to Brown, but I think Brown has locked themselves into second.
And that's enough for the team point total for Brown. If they finish in second place, they will win the team points trophy. But the Ivy League championship goes to the winner of this race. And right now it's the Tigers of Princeton with open water as they look for a 5th championship in 7 seasons, and it would be an Ivy League leading 16th championship overall if Princeton can hold on.
Princeton is dominating this race. This is a clinic by the Princeton varsity. They have open water and they are just moving like the wind. On the wings of a tailwind, Princeton sprinting home.
Yeah, with that push
to
forward.
Their Ivy title.
Tigers, for a 5th time in 7 years, getting ready to hoist the trophy. Only a couple hundred meters more to go. Currently 2nd place Brown, 3rd place Yale. It's going to be really close between Harvard, Radcliffe, and Penn for 4th.
Anybody's guess.
Princeton jumped out like they were shot from a cannon at the start, had a length lead within the first 100 meters, and they haven't been caught.
Back. They never looked back, and they earned this victory. Princeton looks sensational.
Tigers stroking home for a 3rd time in 4 years, for a 5th time in 7 years. Princeton is the Ivy League champion.
By a boat length over Brown. Brown a little bit less than a length over Yale.
And now here comes that race for 4th. Looks like the Quakers of Penn by less than a length. It's close, but it's Penn by only a couple of seats.
I'm going to call that Penn by a deck over Harvard. That was as we expected. That was going to be a tight race.
And 6th place Columbia. So Princeton is your Ivy League champion for a 5th time in 7 years. Well, they graduated a lot from last year's top boat, but they don't rebuild, they reload.